Welcome to the One Hand at a Time podcast. I'm your host, Chris Welton, and I have a really cool guest today. We met in Southern California back in October. I was looking at his bio today, and there's so much to read. It would take 30 minutes to read it probably. So I will say he's just a badass on social media and an amazing leader in the mortgage industry. He's an author. He's a SoCal guy like myself. And welcome to the podcast, Alec Hanson.
What's up, Chris? Dude, good to hang with you again, man. So fun.
Definitely. So I wanted to just start right out. Like, are you a movie star?
You know, it's so funny you say that. I also get, are you an influencer more than movie star? But that is more tongue in cheek. And the silly part is, you know, there is a lot of misconception about brand building, personal brand building, video, and all this stuff. You know, I used to get that I looked a lot like Ryan Reynolds in college, and now it's more like Tom Segura. So I'm trying to figure out where I fall in this movie, you know, famous movie, you know, lookalike. But yeah, I like to put myself out there. I think it's important. So let's start there.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool, and we'll get into how you can follow Alec and stuff. But I've been working a lot on my personal brand recently. I spent a really cool time right before I met you. I spent a whole day with Renee and Bradley and took a lot away from that. Started this podcast because of that. And then all the time we spent with Renee. So I always start there with everybody I've had on the show so far. I want to say, well, maybe 6 people I met via Renee. So you and I met, spent some time together with Renee Rodriguez. And the guy's a genius, right? I mean,
he's a talent, and it's so fun for me to watch his success continue to elevate, because you always want to root for good people, you know? It's just one of those cool things.
Yeah, so let's talk about the mortgage industry right now, and then we'll go into some other stuff. You and I are on opposite sides of that. I'm a non-delegated correspondent, and you are direct lender, one of the big boys. So we're facing different obstacles, but kind of the same, I think. How do you feel today about the business? I know rates got a little better a few minutes ago, but how do you feel today about the business?
Well, so this is my 22nd year in the space, and my dad is going on 40-something years in the space. So I've had a lot of exposure to this industry through a variety of cycles. And so, you know, from a foundational perspective, I think this industry is a hidden gem. I think it's incredible. I think people don't know how powerful and life-changing this, you know, a career in this industry can be. And so and we do, you know, I call it God's work. We do God's work. Like we literally can facilitate somebody into generational wealth. We can radically transform somebody's life with home ownership. There's just so many foundationally rad things, right? Plus, then you layer in the fact that you can be entrepreneurial in this business, and you can kind of run your show the way you want. And so you have optionality. You don't have income caps and limitations. You want to drive to huge levels of personal, professional success. Like it's all for you to take. So I just think it's got so many amazing pieces to it. And then on the other side of that, you know, it's kind of, Chris, I could hear it in your voice. It's just this, it's a roller coaster industry. It has huge ups. It has big downs. It requires a lot of tough skin and flexibility and personal responsibility, because you have to change and evolve. So, you know, it's got that too. And I think that is part of what makes people love it, because we're all kind of crazy a little bit, maybe a little broken. But, you know, whatever it throws at you, there's always opportunity to win in it, even in the down cycles. So, you know, I think it's incredible. And I think a lot of us are blessed to have found it. Many people like you know, and me, like we fall into it. Like, you know, no one finds this by going to college and like, it's, you know, mortgage professional. So, you know, it's just, we have a lot to be thankful for, is my main point in looking at this industry.
You know, you talked about responsibility there. And I think it's a big deal that a lot of people don't understand. And we're seeing a lot of that right now, right? So have all these guys that were bigger producers, or I call them bigger producers because they did well in the best 2 years ever in the industry, right? And now they're broke, right? I mean, I'm seeing a lot of that. They overspent. They thought it would never end. And now here we are. And I met with one of my top producers this morning. Great kid. He's 29 years old, and he's doing 50, 60 million a year in production. And he's doing well, and he's still doing well today. He hasn't missed a beat. But we were talking about other people that were competing with him for the number 1 or 2 spot in our company, and they're nowhere on the board now. They stopped working, right? So what are you telling your branch managers and your sales managers and your LOs to get people back on track to do the work? Because you and I, I've been in the business a long time too, and we did the work. We went through '08, right? We worked through it. What can we tell them to help them get back on the horse now?
Well, I have a couple pieces of advice, and something that I lean into personally is every decade, it feels like, 10 to 12 years, if you're in the mortgage space, you're forced to evolve and change. And these down cycles come through, and they're massively disruptive. And what worked in the past doesn't necessarily work in the future, type of a thing. And in the old days, the previous crisis, there was massive product dysfunction, right? You had stated income and Ninas and all these loans that people specialized in, and then they just were wiped out. They had no ability to read a tax return. They had to evolve completely. And in this last cycle, the hard part is you have people that have come in here and spent a decade, which is a long time, building their business, and then it's all torn down. And they go, what just happened? And they look for things to blame. They want to blame their company. They want to blame, whoever, the government. But it doesn't matter. The reality in the market is still the market. And so one of my core pieces of advice right now is to tell people you're brand new. You're brand new. And if you don't act as if you're brand new and ignore the things that gave you the results before and go after new things to drive new results, you're going to stagnate, and the industry is going to wash you out to sea. And you see it. You see it in originators who are guarantee hopping. That's my favorite thing. They're just jumping from company to company, getting a check because they're dying. They're on their way out to sea. The water's already pulling them out. Perspective also helps, Chris. So one of the things that, besides you're brand new and understanding this is seed planting market. This is a seed planting market, not a harvesting market. Mm-hmm. And a seed planting market is backbreaking, and there's no results, and you don't get the instant gratification. But every cold call or video or social strategy or post or open house interaction or, all these things plant seeds that have deep effects on the future success of your career. But you got to have the perspective that you're not going to get the result tomorrow. And so if you don't have that faith or long-term belief, which I think is really crucial, then you're just going to quit because you're going to get discouraged. You're going to be like, this is pointless. I keep doing this and I'm not getting any results. I keep seeing agents. I'm not getting any deals. I keep posting videos. I'm not getting any deals. And without that long-term perspective, you just can't, you're just not going to survive. You're going to take yourself out. And we're seeing it. I've literally saw somebody leave the country, a loan officer. I mean, I follow tons of loan officers and I'm connected to tons of loan officers. They're out. They went to South Korea. Done. And I was laughing about it because it's like, there's a lot of people changing industries, selling insurance now, moving to solar. This industry bucks and you got to ride the bull.
Yeah, I call a lot of those. We talk about, we got rid of a lot of pretenders in this turn, right? And people that pretended to be good originators, pretended to be good salespeople. And the people that want to do the work, there's always business, right? I mean, there just is, and you just have to go find it. And I agree with that 100%. It right now is planting seeds. And if you want instant results, it's not the right spot. And I tell you what, I have my brother-in-law who just came to work for me about 14 months ago. He left medicine to come originate loans because he was working in the ICU during COVID and called me one morning. He said, I lost several patients last night. I got to do something different. So he come to work for me and he is like super social. I have like I probably shouldn't say this because of HR reasons, but I have this box I like to put people in when I want to hire, and he's a state champion wrestler and he's ex-military and I'm, like all these things, Alec, that they're like, this guy's going to kill it. He's been struggling because he's new in the business right now, right? He's doing all the action, but he's not getting the results yet. They're going to come. boy, it sure is hard to have that conversation with him when he comes to my house.
Well, I'll tell you, Chris, and you'll resonate with this. Every time I sit down with a new originator or an originator who has made it, quote, and broken through a little bit, and you ask, how long did it take to break through? How long, when you were brand new, did it take to get a steady stream of referrals where you felt like you just weren't dying and just scrambling? And every time the answer is anywhere from 6 months to a year, period. Mm-hmm. They're like, it took me 6 months. It took me 8 months, where I got nothing, dirt. I just ran into a wall after wall. And so when I look at originators today who are like, oh man, I'm dying. And I'm like, 6 months. And they're like, what do you mean? And I go, you're brand new. It's going to take 6 months. And that's the mindset that people have to have, or they got to take themselves out. Mortgage is not for the faint of heart. It is not. And again, I want to have empathy, Chris, and this is where I struggle, because I know you said, we took out the part-timers, but some of these part-timers were here for a decade doing well in lending. And so, when you have long-term cycles like this, where it does take 10 to 12 years for a cycle to come through and crush everything, you get people who have dedicated a lot of their life to this industry, and then this comes along and they go, I don't know what to do. I'm talking to people who have built big organizations and now have to fire teammates who have worked with them for 8 years, 9 years, because the infrastructure doesn't support the revenue that's being generated. So they're, and if you don't have the heart to do that, you just won't survive. And that's part of where I feel like a lot of, some organizations that aren't surviving right now, Chris, probably didn't make the hard cuts fast enough. They probably wanted to have hope as a strategy, and it'll turn around, and as things just kept doing this, and that's true for companies, and it's true for originators. They built their lifestyle up too big. How many loan officers built their lifestyle up too big over the last decade and then go, well, I can't live on one loan a month?
Yeah, well, sell one of your Rolexes.
Yeah, sell some stuff.
Right? Yeah, sell some of all that stuff you bought. I agree with the hope part. And that goes in relationships, that goes in personal fitness, that goes in everything. Hope doesn't pay off for you. I had someone the other day talk about, well, I hope I can get all these things done. I said, well, where's hope on your W-2? Because I don't remember what box that is.
It's a zero.
Yeah, it's about putting in the work consistently day after day, and understanding it's about stacking wins. Ben Newman's a friend of mine, and we talk about this. We were talking this morning, actually. We talk about stacking wins. And it's the little wins, right? So for me, I have that small routines that I do every morning. I read and I work out and I do all this crazy stuff to get myself ready to take on the adversity when I go to the office. I don't check my email until after 9:30 in the morning. Why? Because I'm not a doctor and no one's going to die, right? And there's nothing I can do about it till 9:30 probably anyways, or 10 o'clock. Like there's nothing happening until then. So I learned how to do that the right way and prepare myself for it. I know you have this massive energy, and anybody that's ever met you knows that. That was the first thing I noticed about you when we met. What do you do to keep that on point and that smile on your face? And it was cool because I got to meet actually some of your personal friends too in our class. So it was like really neat to see you interact with them. What do you do to be that smiling face all the time and bring the energy?
Well, and so I'll share some thoughts, Chris. But first, for anybody, none of us can be happy all the time. I'm normal. Like I got ups and downs. I got kids. I yell at them as much as I try to hug them. All the things. I'm just fighting the fight like anybody. But what I really try to focus on is perspective. I think perspective is a superpower. I think when we lose it, little things start to chew at us that don't matter. And I think that, in loans with the high level of stress that our industry just is, it is a high stress industry if you're competent and successful, because you just are bringing on a lot. You got to have perspective. And so, faith's very important to me. Service is very important to me. I have a lot of things that I'm involved with philanthropically that give me perspective. There's an amazing organization called Free Wheelchair Mission that literally provides wheelchairs to third world countries and picks people off the dirt and puts them into a chair and changes their life. And so, then I turn around and I'm like, oh yeah, there's this HR issue with Karen and I got to get involved in this. And I have a little more balance in my perspective. Because in my world, and I know in yours too, high stress things come up. Something happened, a human messed up, we got to fix something. There's all this urgency. There's people emotions are raging. People are really upset. And you got to get in the mix there and you got to solve problems. And, having that perspective really helps. And then of course, Chris, you're big on this, fitness and physical care is unbelievably important. For the last, not everybody knows this. It's not that I'm hiding it. I just don't talk about it very much. I have, my hips have degenerated. I don't have cartilage left really. I have 0 on the left and not 10% left on the right. And I've been active and I'm a big, physical fitness guy for a long time. And for 2 years, I was in debilitating pain. Like I couldn't hike, I couldn't walk. I had to assist my leg into my car, and I operated. I got through it. You deal with it. But like November last year, I finally got my left hip replaced. I was putting it off. And, so I've been able to try to get some of my fitness back. And I'm telling you, man, it just being diligent with fitness is game changing for your health and mental health and your ability to perform and work under high stress. I mean, they're so connected. So I just have to I can't understate how important that is.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask you, because I know when I met you, you were getting ready to get that done. So I didn't know. I didn't want to like HIPAA violation on my podcast. But,
no, it's all good.
So are you going to get the other one replaced now?
The recovery, I'm almost 5 to 6 months through, 5 months through, and I feel so good now on my left hip. But I can tell you that it was real. It was a real recovery. And, this is a guy who, I busted both my ankles twice in high school playing basketball and volleyball. I was a jumper and, just coming down on people's ankles and all this stuff just blown out. And the hip, was a serious recovery effort. And so now I'm like, initially I was like, yeah, I'll get them both done, bang, bang. And now I'm like, well, 10% is pretty good over here. I'll just see how long this lasts. But I actually squatted to full depth today. It was a big win for me in the gym. First time ever squatting past, I was doing box squats a little bit to kind of get some range.
Yeah.
So I actually squatted today, did some hang cleans. Like, I'm feeling like I'm 65 pounds, but hell yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah. I have great hips and I don't like to go past the box squat. I don't like to go that deep. My trainer yells at me all the time for it, but I'm like, dude, I'm 50 years old, man. I'm good. I don't need to go past that.
I just tell people as long as you can squat, as long as your depth on a squat is comfortable at the toilet seat level, you're going to live a good life.
Yeah.
Other than that, you don't need to go much lower. Just as long as you can get there and up for a long time, you're going to have a good life.
Yeah, it's so important for me for my physical fitness. I mean, I stay in the gym and I work out, but I'm a little bit of a sicko. I mean, I'm a David Goggins fan, and I'm in the middle of 75 hard right now for the second year in a row, and
you're a maniac.
You know what? But those things are. Somebody asked me the other day, like, why the heck are you doing that stuff? And I said, well, first, to prove I can do it to myself, but second, the amount of growth I got when I did it last year, Alec, put me on a trajectory that I love where I'm at. So I'm like, okay, well, if I do it again, what's going to happen now?
Yeah, 100%.
So for me, that's why I try to dial that stuff in. You sent me a link probably 2 weeks ago of this, like, it was almost like, I thought I was watching Saturday Night Live at first. Like it was the news on Saturday Night Live. What's the story behind that? Like are you trying to attract more talent through that and be more out there? Like what's the whole drive with that?
Well, every year I try to pick a content strategy is a highly produced content strategy versus an organic. And I think places are both for these. And I'm also, trying to figure this out too. So I'm not coming here like I have the answers, but I try to do something that kind of lasts for the year and has some kind of, connection. So, 3 years ago, I did a series called Bypassed, which was, video content, 1 minute clips, but it was connected to my book, right? So the content kind of mirrored. Last year, I did a series called Then, Now, Next, where I talked about what has happened, what's happening now, and what's going to happen. And then, this year, my team and I came up with this concept called the bright side. And I was so frustrated, like I'm sure many people were, with just how much negativity surrounds our industry in a down cycle. not sometimes it's just even in up cycles there's negativity, but like, man, it was just like bad news here, catastrophe here, world ending here, like, you know, it's just like I'm just getting sick of it. And so I was like, well, what can I do? And I go, you know what? I can highlight some good stuff. And my biggest inspiration was looking back during COVID times. You know, John Krasinski did this thing on social called Some Good News Network, where he was a fake anchor, you know, with his kids like art behind him and just highlighting cool shit, good people doing good stuff. And I was like, you know what? We need that in the mortgage industry, and I can do that. So I put out every month. There's gonna be 11 more episodes. The 12th, the second one's gonna launch in about a week and a half, and it's longer form content. It's like 10 to 12 minutes, but it's a fake news, you know, network show, kind of like Daily Show / Anchorman.
Yeah.
And I'm highlighting great originators and what they're doing to win today. So it's very tactical. I'm highlighting, you know, things that people can do, whether it's how to upgrade your microphone or how to film video or what to do with realtors. You know, I'm bringing in some fun guests. You know, I'm doing my first Coaches Corner for the 3rd episode, and Todd Duncan's coming in, and Renee's going to be one of the Coaches Corners. You know, and then I'm spotlighting what some great people in our industry are doing outside mortgage, the charities they're running. You know, and then I'm just bringing up cool things that I like. You know, this guy I put on the first episode just mows lawns for people for free.
Yeah,
and
that was really good.
He's awesome. He's just out there like, can I mow your lawn? And he runs a mowing company, but he just does this for free. And his TikTok and YouTube has exploded. And I'm just like, you know what? That's just good people doing good shit. And so from one perspective, I get to pour some positivity in the world, which I think, you know, pays me back in spades. But the other thing is, you know, it's another content strategy, Chris, that builds my brand and connects me to people. And so, yeah, I mean, the secondary benefits of this stuff is people get to learn more about some cool stuff Loan Depot's doing. I'm not shoving it down their face. I'm not saying that we're the best, they should come work here. I'm just sharing things that I'm proud of and that are cool at the company and that are doing good things in the world. You know, I'm giving tips to originators that if they don't feel like they're getting that at their company, maybe they'll call me. Maybe they want to work here. I don't know. But I'm not putting what's the word? Like gatekeeping it. You know, you can only get this if you work here or if you pay me $99 for my masterclass. Yep. I'm just giving ideas away that I think are good and relevant. So, you know, I think that when you have that kind of strategy, whether you're an executive, a company owner, a loan officer, and you're just giving good information, contextually relevant, for free, you're going to attract, you know, your tribe and community. And, you know, Gary Vee says it the best, you know, attention is currency. And so I'm trying to practice what I preach, so to speak. I'm trying, you know, so that way if a loan officer or someone on my team goes, hey, I'm thinking about doing a video or I want to get into this, I can say, well, here's what I've learned. Here's my learnings. You know, take what you want from it. And I think I become a better leader that way.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that's a lot of the same stuff I'm doing because I'm the self-proclaimed king of R&D, rip off and duplicate, right? So if I see something you're doing, Alec, I'm going to take it and run with it. If it's copywritten, have your attorney send me a cease and desist, whatever. You know. So I have had people come to me and say that, Chris, why are you doing the podcast? Why are you on the Instagram reels? Why? I'm like, well, because I'm trying to attract more like-minded people to my circle, and it's not about me going and recruiting everybody anymore. And we have a mutual friend who introduced us originally, not Renee, but Brian, and I was hanging with him a few weeks ago. And we were really talking about attraction more than we were recruiting. And that's what it's come to. Like, I get so many phone calls, people trying to recruit me. It's the same monotonous stuff over and over and over again. I'm not into that. I'm not into making 100 phone calls to try to recruit loan officers to come work at our company. I'm just not this. First of all, I'd be the highest paid telemarketer in the free world, which is a waste of money, right? That's a waste of money. So why not put myself more out there by doing podcasts, getting people on that are interesting like yourself? And I've been able to connect with some really cool people through this, not just the mortgage side, but I've been able to connect with some pretty powerful individuals that will help me leverage relationships down the road to do that. Can we talk about your speaking? I mean, you've been on some big stages. How did you get there?
So it started with this ridiculous thing I did in 2010, maybe 2009. I have to go look. And what I did was I took my cell phone and I bought a little stand for my car and I put it on my dashboard, and driving into work, I would record myself and then I would post it to Facebook every day. And it was called Drive Time with Alec. And it had no purpose other than I thought it was ridiculous and funny for my, and I talked about anything from stream of consciousness to this is a cool marketing idea to this is what happened to me yesterday. I mean, literally it's so random and crazy. But if you go to YouTube right now, Drive Time with Alec has over 300 videos of me driving and filming myself and talking about whatever. In fact, I take personal credit for all this, coffee in cars with Seinfeld. Like I started this whole thing. He saw Drive Time and then he's like, I'm ripping this off.
He R&D'd it.
But the reason that I say getting on stage and all these things started with Drive Time was because what I didn't realize, and I now I try to coach to this, all of that shenanigans was repetitions. It was all repetitions. And so I got much more comfortable speaking on camera with that stupid experience. And then in 2018, when I got really serious about social and I kind of woke up, and I did 100 videos in 100 days. And then I started my podcast after that. And I started to figure out what I want my voice to be in this space, because in the beginning you just kind of dive in and I had no direction, and that's great. Just start. Just start's kind of like a big thing. But then, Chris, and then of course I'm continuing to work my ass off in my job and continuing to have success, which is, helps kind of like, well, he can do that and he's winning there. And, then the power of social is that, like, Chris, your comment is human connection. I would have never met Renee Rodriguez if I didn't get on social and start to try to figure stuff out. I would have never had a chance to speak at AppCon if I hadn't been on social with Renee and built a relationship and invited him on my podcast. I didn't know who the hell he was. And that guy has a significant, headspace with me because, he shared some things that unlocked a lot of stuff for me. And so, if I wasn't on social and I wasn't trying to learn, I would have never met him in the capacity we did. So it's incredible where this stuff all goes over time. And again, it's so similar to sales and to when I was a loan officer for so long. The seed planting, man, it's not the one video that matters. It's the hundreds that you've done that matter. And so, it's not the first time you walk into a realtor's open house to prospect them that matters. It's the 17th and 25th and 36th when you finally, build. So it's all this compounding opportunity. And that's this unbelievable power of brand building is it's brick by brick, video by video, podcast by podcast. All of a sudden you look back and you go, oh, now there's a mountain. Now I'm standing on this foundation that I built, and I never saw what it could be in the beginning.
I think I love the fact about the connection with Renee, because he's been one of the most pivotal people in my life ever. And I've only known him for a year and a half. Okay. Like, we connected in January of last year. I went to my first Amplify event, then October, my second one, but I did the special event with him and Brad Lee. And he gave me so much insight and gave me the power to share my story. And then the connections I've made inside the groups, Alec, like connecting with you, connecting with Brian Covey, connecting with a guy named Will Gomez. And then we've been able to just turn those into some really special relationships, which is so huge. Let's talk about people that are to invest in yourself, because I know you and I are big believers in that. I mean, I met your camera guy, Mike. It's Mike, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mikey. Yeah. I know that's not inexpensive to do that, because I have my camera guy who comes in and out. But I look at that as an investment for me. Amplify is not cheap, right? You pay for it, but you invest in it to get a return on yourself. I've got this event I'm doing with Ben Newman that I'm going behind the curtain with Ben Newman for a day and a half, and it is a substantial investment. But my wife's like, hey, I went to school for 7 years to do my job. Okay. I spent a lot of money on that. This is okay. Like, so let's do this to help you get to where you want to go. So what would you tell people that are thinking about maybe investing in themselves, maybe not? Like even in a down market, we have to be consistent with that, right? So how do you feel about that?
Well, before we talk about the investing in yourself monetarily, I want to address investing in yourself with time. We have 24 hours in the day. We have a lot of time. We have all the time that exists, and carving some time out, whether it's to watch YouTube tutorials on how to set up cameras and how to film and edit, learning a skill that can help your business in an ancillary capacity, versus hiring someone to do it, right? Like there is so much opportunity to go above and beyond in yourself, investing in yourself with just the time that we have allotted that we waste on other stuff that is enjoyable. Like I get that it's enjoyable. Netflix, it's awesome. I love to binge watch crappy shows, but if I have some discipline and I instead take that time and invest in myself in this way, over a week, over a month, over a year, I can be here. And so, like in my own personal journey with social, right? In the beginning, I did everything myself. I was filming myself on my phone. I learned how to edit. I was editing myself either on the app or on the computer. Very rudimentary stuff, but figuring out software solutions, learning. Then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I want to go to the next level. And the investment of time is no longer paying me what I need it to. I'm going to have to invest in money now. And that's when you bring on additional resources, whether you actually hire them or outsource or contract. And so, I love the thought of getting in proximity with great people. And sometimes that costs money too. And that's okay. Your analogy was perfect, Chris. We paid for school. School gave us, my wife has her master's. She's a therapist. I didn't go to mass. I don't have a master's, but we paid for that. And, and she sacrificed her time and our money to go do that. And she's better. She's a great therapist. Got her license, all that fun stuff. So, I think that the real question, Chris, is, and this is where skeptical people kind of come in, is, there are people out there selling courses and all this stuff that just they shouldn't be, and so you're like, well, and there are people that get high on going to classes and going to events, the event junkies, so there's an area there where it's like, hey, okay, yeah, maybe just start executing now. You went to enough classes, you don't need one more Todd Duncan seminar. You need to start doing it. But man, it's so clear to me that the benefits of investing in yourself, like I have a personal trainer. I owned a CrossFit gym for 13 years. I am level 2 certified in CrossFit. I don't need a trainer. I know exactly what to do. I ran a gym. I got it. But I have a trainer now because I don't want to think about it. I just want to show up. And that's where I'm at in my life, and it's working fabulously. So, investing in yourself is a no-brainer, and I think there's multiple ways to do it that are either, not all financially, just sometimes you can do it yourself. But, the payoff on that stuff, Chris, is gold.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I have a personal trainer, and I was with him this morning. He kicked my butt this morning, and 3 days a week I'm in there, and we really work hard with it. He's got it mapped out and the plans are in place and we're good to go. And I do agree with, if you don't have the funds right now to step out and do that, you can listen to podcasts, you can read books, you can YouTube. But what I do, my wife and I, we do Saturdays and Sundays, we'll get a good workout in both mornings, but the goal is to not turn the TV on until at least 4 o'clock. At least 4 o'clock. And that's quality time with each other. That's reading, that's journaling. I like to meditate, I visualize a lot. I used to call it daydreaming when I was a kid, but because I'm the same way, Alec. I will turn on Amazon Prime, and if the new Jack Ryan series comes out, dude, it's Tuesday before I realize what happened. I just want to say that I appreciate the fact that you're so receptive to connecting with me. You're easy to connect with, man. You've been just totally genuine. And I don't run into that all the time. When you try to connect with people, they want to act like they're that way, but they're just not. So As people listen to this, it'll should drop next week. What's the best way to connect with you and learn from you? And if they're a great fit for you for Loan Depot, or they just want to pick your brain about something, what's the best way to connect?
Yeah, let me frame that answer in some coaching for any listener out there, because I think you can tell, Chris, like I have a huge passion for salespeople, because like I am salespeople, like it's my people. One of the things that I think salespeople should do is be accessible, because you want clients to find you and you want them to be able to easily interact with you, and you don't want to have barriers to access, and you want to be visible. And so one of the powers of personal brand building is you get some visibility. If you start investing in social platforms and defining a strategy and executing a strategy, all of a sudden now with SEO and Google, you start showing up. And so when I get asked, hey, what's the best way to connect with you or find you, I like to just joke and say Google, because I'm not trying to gatekeep how people can access me. If you want to connect in with me on Twitter or on TikTok or on Instagram or on LinkedIn or on Facebook or on email or text, like, how can I find all that? Google. Like, it's all there. And I joke, that old movie Highlander, there can only be one. Everyone should be fighting to own their first page of Google, so that if somebody Googles your name, it's like, whoa, not only do you have social proof that maybe you're a badass, but you also have, multiple ways to get in touch with you, ways to deeper relationship that deepen connection that you don't have to be a part of, video series and all these things. And so some of the best things, though, Chris, that I found is just follow people that inspire you. Social media gets a lot of negativity because there's a lot of toxicity on the platforms. There's a lot of humble bragging. There's a lot of BS. There's a lot of, fakeness on these platforms. And so people get really turned off, and I just go block those people. Why are you following them? Why have you chosen to put their toxicity into your eyeballs? Stop doing that. But curate who you do want to have around you and watch how much better your life starts getting. It's like, you heard the old saying, like when you surround yourself with negative people, you just get pulled down. We're doing that on social. Just intentionally. You're intentionally following this. Stop it. Block, mute, whatever you want to do. But surround yourself with the people that are bringing that energy and the positivity and the ideas. And then, Chris, I found this too. You said it, steal like an artist and, rip off and duplicate. People that are successful have no ego around that. They don't care. They're always like, take whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Because the barrier is always in execution. But at the same time, if you are executing, you're going to find your own voice and way there. And most of these people live in abundance, not scarcity.
Yeah, that was a hard lesson for me to learn at a young age, and because I used to run car dealerships, right? And I didn't want to share any of the things we were doing with anybody else, right? And once I've realized there's more than enough business out there for everyone, you're spending way too much time hiding and protecting stuff. Just grow and be abundant. And that's how I feel about this. That's how about social media and sharing coaching. Like I coach multiple realtors, and when I do that, I'll have a side camera on and I'll record the things I'm doing and I'll post that and share it, because I think it's important for other people to see those conversations and that may resonate with them.
It's just gold, dude. It's living out abundantly versus living in scarcity. And there's so much freedom in that. And that, and I respond to DMs all the time with people that are like in London. Like they're not working for me. They live in the UK. But you know what? It would shock you the ripple effect on your own personal business and career when you just are open and you share gratefully and authentically. Again, Chris, I've been given speaking engagements from it. I've been given, chances to come in and coach people, which I don't really do because I have a job and I'm not, but like opportunity comes by being that way. And that's a great place to live in.
Yeah, I've had people reach out to me. I had a big wholesale mortgage company I do business with reach out and said, hey, would you run our sales meeting? What would you charge us to run our sales meeting next week? I'm like, I'll do it for free. I'll do it for free. I'm okay with that, because what can I build from that, right? Who do they know that maybe they need me to come speak at their annual meeting, and that's a different story, right? So for me, it was like an interview. But I've had also friends that I've grown up with that own businesses. They're like, hey, can I pay you to coach me? I really need some help with some stuff. You're really been influential in what I'm seeing lately. So that's just so powerful.
Game changing. Game changing.
Cool. Well, man, again, thanks for taking the time, man. I know you're a busy guy and hopping on here with me. And we did have to reschedule because I had a little bit of a rough trip back from the DR about a month ago, but I'm all good now. And I can't wait to see where this friendship goes, Alec. I appreciate you, brother.
Hey, love you, dude. It's awesome. Thanks to Hank, Chris. So fun.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the One Hand at a Time podcast today. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and share. I'm often asked if I'm available for speaking opportunities or accepting new coaching clients. The answer is yes. Feel free to click the Calendly link in the show notes to set up a 30-minute call with myself. And remember, as we move forward in life, we do it one hand at a time.